Happy Football Friday, everybody. It's your premier Arizona Cardinal podcast. I'm Johnny Venerable. He's Bo Brack. Welcome in to PHNX Cardinals. Welcome in to everybody in the chat as we preview KC versus AZ on the horizon tomorrow, Saturday at State Farm Stadium. But in the meantime, hello to my co-host in studio at PHNX headquarters in downtown Phoenix, Mr. Bo Brack.
Johnny, what's going on? What's everybody doing in the chat today? Friday, football, it's here tomorrow, right? I don't even know what's going on. I'm talking backwards right now. It's exciting. We've got a huge show on tap. We know who the Arizona Cardinals are going to face at quarterback in week 1. We also know that Cardinals are going to get a pretty hefty dose of Patrick Mahomes tomorrow. What should we see from the Redbirds? And who we think the Arizona Cardinals, what their 53-man roster is going to look like, and more importantly, what that depth chart is going to look like, according to us, not what's being predicted by the team media or the team at this point. What Johnny, Venerable, and Bo Brack think.
Yeah, the only ones you should care about, frankly. Everybody in the chat, what's up? Happy Friday, Michael Evans, Beer Friday. I hope it's a Four Peaks, my guy. Jacob in the chat. Best time to start the stream, not having to rush after work. Love to hear that. Love it. And just keep it on replay all weekend long. No F's given. It's my birthday today. Happy birthday, no F's given. Hope you have a tremendous birthday. Hope JG can get you a dub on your birthday weekend. You guys are fantastic in the chat. And I think a birthday gift come early is the fact that the Arizona Cardinals get to face Sam Howell and his one career touchdown pass in week 1, Bo Brack. That became official today. Good Lord. Are you scared? That's terrifying for a couple different reasons. Sam Howell is the starting quarterback for whatever they're calling the Washington franchise these days. And yet still, Washington's a 6-point favorite, Bo Brack. What do you make of this whole thing?
I make it as the Arizona Cardinals' best option for a dub in week 1. I think that this is the best case scenario for Jonathan Gannon, Nick Rollis, and the quarterback of the options that Washington presented. I think it's Sam Howell. Now, I'll say this about Sam Howell. He's pesky, right? He's a pesky little fella, 6'1", out of North Carolina. He's got a skill set that, it can be annoying. It can move the football. It can, sustain drives, and it can find pay dirt at times, but it's also susceptible to, I think, making mistakes. Now, that's a bit of speculation because we've got one game under his belt. It was a meaningless regular season finale against the Cowboys last year where Sam Howell has a decent game, right? He goes, passes for about 57%, throws a tutty, throws a pick. He's got a rushing touchdown. He rushes for 4 first downs. That's the peskiness of him. I think he's got just enough of a skill set to where he can make his way every once in a while into a naive NFL franchise's starting lineup. But is he the solution for anybody at quarterback for the foreseeable future? I just don't think so. I really don't. I think he's a meaningless game king. Like, if you got a meaningless game, he's your king. He's your guy that you want to start there, and he'll perform well for you, and he'll maybe get it done. But, I think if you're Jonathan Gannon, if you're Nick Rollis, you probably turn on the tape against Dallas last year. He had a solid preseason debut against the Browns. That's all well and good, but, he'll make throws, he'll make plays, but he also has the ability to lose a football game. He really does. I mean, he's got like a slow release. If you watch the film on him, not exactly the quickest as far as getting the football out. And as far as driving the ball down the field, I think he struggles there, and his deep ball tends to kind of float. And when I think about, the opportunity for Isaiah Simmons and this safety group, week 1, I think they can get their hands on some footballs.
Yeah, I think this game's not going to be won by quarterback play. It's going to be won by coaching. And I like the Cardinals' chances in part because Ron Rivera, Eric Bieniemy, their new OC, they're already taking shots at each other in the media. It's like, give me that. Give me a guy who's passed for 1 career touchdown in Sam Howell. Like, you called his game decent last year. Like, that's being kind. I mean, he was under 60%. He had 11 completions, right? I mean, Jacoby Brissett was signed to beat competition. I don't know what happened there. Jacoby Brissett won games last year in Cleveland. I wonder if Jacoby Brissett, if the Arizona Cardinals did offer him a contract, is regretting going to Washington. Now, I do think eventually he's going to see the field for them, but this is best case scenario for the Cardinals. This is not week 1 of Patrick Mahomes last year. No shit, Johnny. But again, like, you got Colt McCoy, who is limited, but I think Sam Howell's limited. And I think he is more prone, maybe even the Colt McCoy, than to turn the ball over because he's going to want to impress the fan base. He's going to be amped up, right? Jonathan Gannon, and especially now what we've seen from Nick Rollis after one preseason game, they're going to throw a ton of stuff at them.
No.
So I think if you were in the camp that the Cardinals are not going to be competitive until Kyler Murray comes back, I think you can throw that out the window. I think this is the best landing spot outside of maybe having it at home. But again, Cardinals don't play well at home. So we'll see for them to get a dub in week one. They're a 6-point favorite right now at BetMGM. I expect that number to continue to go down. It started at 6.5. I think it could get anywhere between 4 to 4.5. And if you think about it, it's a 3-point swing when you have the home field advantage. So they believe right now Washington is about a 3-point favorite, a field goal favorite in their building. All that can change with a turnover. All that can change with a Sam Howell pick six or fumble in the pocket. So if I'm JG and company, especially, and don't discredit this, Brack, Gannon coached against Washington for 2 seasons 4 times. He knows what they want to do. And I get it's BNM. He knows their personnel. He knows Scary Terry. He knows how Ron Rivera operates. It's going to be an ugly game. And I've been saying this. I think the Cardinals are a smart bet at over plus 200 right now.
Yeah, I mean, the offensive line that he's going to be playing behind is not ideal. It would already looked like it struggled in that performance against the Browns to open up the preseason. And a credit to Howell for having a decent game. I think he was like 9 for 12 in that contest. And he's got, some good receivers, including former Cardinals great quarterback Logan Thomas at the tight end position. I mean, look, the Arizona Cardinals, if they play with their ears pinned back, if Zaven Collins in his regular season debut at pass rusher and you get, a healthy pass rush squad, including Cameron Thomas is probably going to be down this week. BJ Ujulari is probably going to be down this week against the Chiefs. If those guys can gear up for the regular season, they can eat and they can make Sam Howell, very, very uncomfortable in the pocket. And when you look at the sample size from against Dallas, when he was blitzed, I mean, he was pedestrian, as are most quarterbacks. And that's the thing. It's like Vance Joseph had an affinity for making mid quarterbacks look really good. I mean, who's the kid? Kyle Allen, who came in here and he looked like Tom Brady for the Carolina Panthers. Gives me nightmares. Keeps me up at night far too often thinking about that game. But Sam Howell, I don't think that you're going to see that from this coaching staff very often. I just don't. I don't think that JG and Nick Rollis have an appetite for it. When the guy that comes in that looks like every other bro in the self-checkout line on Sunday mornings at Safeway in Sam Howell, I don't think they're going to accept him making plays consistently, getting into rhythm throughout a football game enough to lead him to a dub. And you're right. This is not going to be a game that's going to be won by the quarterbacks. But here's like this: the case we're making against Sam Howell, a 5th round pick, is the same case that I think why we need to ease maybe our expectations for a Clayton Tune, right? Because I think what the Cardinals are going to err on the side of is experience over pure athleticism and throwing ability, because that's where Tune separates himself from McCoy, and that's not the argument, but I think Colt McCoy.
That's a fair point. That's one of the best points you've made all week. And I'll give you credit there. I appreciate that. Bringing your A game on a Friday. Right.
But I think, and Colt or McCoy versus Howell, I mean, that's like a Western showdown name. Like the Colts and the Howells out there.
Now I take back everything I just said about how well you were doing on this show.
And draw. But look, I mean, McCoy can go out there and he can run a system. He can make enough throws, get the ball in playmakers' hands, and take care of the football enough, and then let your defense do the rest. I think that's the game plan.
I feel like this is such an evenly matched saga and situation for the Cardinals, because I think the Cardinals have a plus player up front on their offensive line, multiple. I think they have a better offensive line than Washington. We're not going to go into a full week 1 breakdown here, but player for player, I think this team's closer than people think. I think the Cardinals' back 7 is better in terms of their secondary with Budda Baker and Isaiah Simmons and Marco Wilson. And I think their running back is better in James Conner, and I like their tight end. So does Washington have legitimate receivers? Absolutely. But you can mitigate that by pressuring the quarterback. And we're going to see who's going to pressure this group, Brack, as we do our 53-man roster predictions. But before we do that, Brack, I don't know if you've been on BetMGM lately, but this line has been going up, down, sideways, whatever you want. It's got it for you. -6 is Washington. So you can get the Cardinals at +6 right now at BetMGM. You can also get yourself some free dollars, bonus bets, seemingly every time I log into the BetMGM app. Use that bonus code PHNX. Now, there's a few different offers depending on where you live, but for our Arizona folks, Place your first bet offer and receive up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if it loses. Check out the show notes for full details. And now listen to our guy Shane Diefenbach talk about it in the disclaimer.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Colorado, D.C., Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 Massachusetts. 21 plus to wager. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP Arizona, 1-800-522-4700 Nevada, 1-800-BETS-OFF Iowa, 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help Michigan, 1-800-981-0023 Puerto Rico in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. U.S. promotional offers not available in D.C., Kansas, Nevada, New York, or Ontario.
This continues to be the best place to work in the Valley. Our GM is throwing us a party tonight. He's going to be smoking all fine meats at his place, at his establishment. I don't have the menu pulled up, but apparently he's quite the whiz on the grill. And he's going to be treating us. And, of course, with that meat, and I'm sure fine cheeses as well, because he's a classy guy, and Saul Bookman is the Four Peaks beer. It's going to be flowing. And where it's our proud beer sponsor, the official beer sponsor of PHNX, your premier, of course, sports media outlet in the Valley of the Sun. We're partnered with the number one, of course, craft brewery in Arizona, and they've got at Four Peaks Brew on Instagram that you have to follow right now because they have great the unveil products. They'll show you all the things that are going on at their establishment there in Tempe on A Street, at Four Peaks Pub as well on Twitter. Keep up with the latest on Arizona's hometown brewery and check out for yourself what they've been doing so well at such an elite level for the last 25 years. And that's brewing beer, making great food, appetizers, of course, entrees, desserts. Get it for yourself. 8th Street in Tempe. Got to be 21 years or older, of course, to enjoy the beer and the great variety of beer there. And we also ask that you do it responsibly.
Damon, our sweet, sweet Damon, he's right. It's a meat party in the best possible way. It's a meat party. We're going to be slanging meat. We're going to be having a good time. Ribs, anybody on deck? I cannot, outside of just turning on my oven or my grill outside. It's a rough scene at the Venerable household. So I'm excited to see what Mr. Bookman's got on tap tonight. Also, I'm excited. I'm going to pick your brain on this, Bo Brock, because I failed to mention this in the first segment. So Colt McCoy is the presumed starter week one, and the Cardinals are a 6-point underdog against Sam Howell of all people. Hypothetically, let's say Kyler Murray is activated. We have kind of put a tentative deadline, or maybe it's firm. I don't know. On August 29th, which is a Tuesday, he has to be activated before that day, roughly, to be able to participate in practice and subsequently the regular season. Say Kyler Murray does miraculously come back week one for this franchise, Bo Brock. What do you think that does to the line? You go from Colt McCoy to Kyler Murray week one against Sam Howell in Washington.
Yeah, it inches closer to, like you were saying, a home team gets what, 3, right? Just for being home. So I think it takes it closer to that just being kind of a 0 game. So it's probably pushes the spread down to about what, 4, 3.5.
Yeah.
And they give the edge, but with, room to wiggle a little bit as Kyler Murray knocks the rust off. Right. But I think that it absolutely goes down. The spread shrinks a little bit.
I think it goes down to about 3.5. I'm right there with you. And what remains to be seen, that's why you got to keep your BetMGM app handy. And speaking of BetMGM, we do want to let everybody know, in preparation for tomorrow's matchup, we unfortunately, due to technical difficulties, will not be at our typical site that we've let you know about, BetMGM Sportsbook at the Great Lawn. But fret not, ball be at the stadium. I will be in studio myself, Saul Bookman, a special guest, the newest member of our PHNX Cardinals team that I don't think we were now allowed to announce just quite yet, or maybe we are, and somebody will yell at me. We're doing a pregame show a half an hour before kickoff, roughly 4:30 Arizona time, halftime show if you fancy, and then immediately following the game, your definitive post game, which everybody knows, know and love. We were crushing it with all of you last Friday post game against the Denver Broncos. So again, no BetMGM tomorrow. Unfortunately, we will have pregame, post game in studio with all of you. Be there.
Yeah, really bummed that it's not happening tomorrow, but do not fret. As Johnny said, we will be with you as we always are, especially for that post game, breaking down everything from the game. I'll have the sights and the sounds from the locker room. Johnny, Saul, and our special guest, you guys will be diving into everything that transpires tomorrow against the Super Bowl champion Chiefs and JG's Cardinals. Can they take that next step? Can they continue to get pressure on the quarterback? Better challenge on hand and on tap with Kansas City, as saw in the chat that they are. And Andy Reid is planning on playing the bulk of his starters in the first half. So excited to see. It's going to be a nice measuring stick for the Cards. Are we getting into the depth chart? Is that what we're doing right now? Oh man, I can't wait.
We've teased this all week, and now, Brack, it is time. We're going to give our initial unified. We're on a unified front with this. You and I combed through this over the course of the last 24 hours to be able to break down what we believe is going to be the final 53, Brack, for this team.
Yeah, we collaborated, and it's not easy. I mean, there are a lot of tough roster moves to make, and we certainly have like a bubble of guys who I think are fringe players to make this roster, but we ended up with 52. So we've got one spot open
for about 7 guys.
Yeah, for about 7 guys. So without any further ado, let's get into it. You want to start with the offensive side of the football?
Let's do it. Let's start with the O.
All right. Offensive side of the football. We'll start with the offensive line. It's been pretty much well set throughout training camp, even dating back to OTAs. DJ Humphries at that left tackle spot, Elijah Wilkinson at the left guard spot, Yelda Froed holding down center, Will Hernandez in his usual right guard spot, and then the rookie 6th overall pick, Paris Johnson Jr., right tackle. Johnny, got any issues with these?
No, I mean, the starters themselves, I was ready to anoint Pat Elflein, who is not on this list. We're going to talk about him here in a little bit, but I was ready to anoint him the center of the season until Yellow Frohl put a literal and figurative stranglehold on the position, choke slamming Zach Allen, destroying people up front for the Denver Broncos. Like, sign me up. 26, younger, more athletic. Elijah Wilkinson is the name to watch here, as somebody who could be Wally Pipped at any point during the season, because I think he, from a 5,000-foot view, is the weak link. I also think that, DJ Humphries, they're putting him on ice this preseason for a reason. They want to make sure he can make it 17 games. But again, if you think he can, that's a lot asking for this kind of player, this kind of veteran. But the highlight to me is on the right side. Will Hernandez is poised to have a really nice year for this team, and Paris Johnson Jr. is a budding star, a budding captain, a budding franchise building block for the Arizona Cardinals. So to me, again, like, Zach Ertz coming back from PUP has earned it. Trey McBride is right there waiting in the wings. But as far as the number 5 starting offensive line, this has been the same, Bo, correct me if I'm wrong, since OTAs.
Yeah, it really has. It was surprising with Humphries down or just not playing on Friday, and he's 100% healthy. He's confirmed that multiple times throughout this preseason. He's just, entering year 9. What do you have to gain from him playing in the preseason? It was surprising to see Kelvin Beachum in there at the left tackle spot, Josh Jones over the right tackle spot. Are they kind of, I don't know, what's Kelvin playing that left tackle spot for? Are they giving him the benefit of showcasing him during the preseason? Maybe. Or is Josh Jones somebody that needs to catch up to Kelvin Beachum? But I think that they, regardless of what it is, and I've got Jones still at the left tackle spot here, just because I think, at the end of the day, he's your strongest person, that if Hump isn't in there, you're going to go with Josh Jones. And then I see Dennis Daly. He's been primarily the backup left guard, and then John Gaines has been that center, where, as you mentioned about Elflein, and we'll see what his status is, as the Arizona Cardinals added an interior offensive lineman today, and Elflein's been out of practice. Is he going to miss some time? And they added Braylon Jones to the preseason roster. John Gaines the second might just, end up as the backup center for this team, which is pretty crazy considering he's like a year removed from even playing that position at college.
Well, and Pat Elflein, to me, if he can't stay healthy in the preseason, I mean, what do you expect from him during the regular season? I thought there was a chance he'd be here for a month and he'd overtake Froholt because they were working out centers. But I think this team just works out O-linemen to work out O-linemen because they're proactive. This is not Steve Keim reactionary. Let's trade the farm for Cody Ford because we need an interior lineman. This is no. We're going to build a pipeline of guys and ingratiate them into our system. Braylon Jones, as you mentioned, signed today. He's had a cup of coffee in the NFL. Let's see. Who knows if he'll even make the team? I would say the deck is stacked against him. And again, Pat Elflein could conceivably make this team. As you mentioned, he can play guard, right? He doesn't have to play center. But what did this show, no other show, but this show tell you about 2 months ago? They are going to prioritize the rookies, and that includes John Gaines. They're going to give John Gaines every opportunity to be if not a starter, he's going to be an active player, whereas that was not in vogue with the prior regime. So this does not surprise me. I'd say that if you're going to look at this from a 5,000-foot view, it would be an egregious mistake, which Austin Ford has not made yet, to cut Josh Jones. I think that would not make any sense. I get Kelvin Beacham's proven. He's on a 2-year deal. Josh Jones, to me, you just keep him in-house, even if you have no desire to play him. Let him sign somewhere else in free agency and get a comp pick. He's going to get a comp pick, 5th, 6th, 7th, whatever it is, as a unrestricted free agent because he plays tackle. And he's been pretty good when he's played tackle. So I can eat a roster spot and I can carry 4 tackles on this team, Bo Brock, if it means that I'm going to reap the benefits of it down the line. And again, DJ Humphries has not been able to stay healthy. I want Paris Johnson Jr. to play 17 games. We'll see if he can do that. That's asking a lot for a rookie. So it's just smart. I know nobody wants to admit it, but like Josh Jones, to me, he's a valuable piece. And is he perfect? No, but he's capable. And for an offensive line that has never been capable historically, consistently for this team, you got to carry more.
Right. And Dennis Daly's versatility. I mean, I'm a little skittish on that. I'm a little skeptical. I mean, he's a guard. Where he can make an impact is guard. If you ask a Tennessee Titan fan, or if you say Dennis Daly in front of them, they'll cuss you out to your face and say,
we don't want him playing anything but guard.
You don't want him, bumping outside to play tackle. And it's just like, if you're using a baseball analogy, it's like in April, if a team's saying, hey, we got a surplus of starting pitching, so we're just going to get rid of a guy. It's like, you don't do that, because it's inevitable that your starters, guys are going to miss time. And especially on the offensive line, just like pitching in baseball, you can never have enough of those guys. And Josh Jones, I think, proved in DJ Humphries' absence last year that he can hang and play at that level. Let's finish off the line a little bit with the tight ends. Zach Ertz, removed from PUP. He continues to trend towards playing week 1. That's why he's at the top at tight end 1. Trey McBride, hopefully in the same kind of boat as he makes his way back after having a slow training camp. I think he's entrenched as tight end 2. And then you start to look at this. I think one of these two guys is very vulnerable as far as this roster goes. Jeff Swaim and Noah Tongiai, as far as who's going to make the team. Traditionally, I guess NFL rosters take 3 tight ends for the most part. They just got to figure out which guy's going to kind of win that job.
Yeah, Noah's had a really good training camp, really good. And Jeff Swaim's been kind of up and down. I think, Ertz has earned it. McBride, let's see him prove himself on game day. I don't think it's a good sign for either Jeff or Noah that Dennis Daly was like the 6th lineman registered like up front Friday against the Broncos. Like, instead of a tight end, it was Dennis Daly sometimes up there. And that's not a good sign. I would keep all 4. We're keeping all 4 in our offensive depth chart, but that I would put a big asterisk. I mean, right now, if you had to ask me, Bo, like, I haven't seen him do it in a game. Noah has been more impressive to me than Jeff Swaim has.
He has. And he's been playing that H-back role a little bit.
Right.
And who knows, like, how comfortable this coaching staff's going to be with McBride. We don't know exactly what he's dealing with. We'll know, once the first injury report comes out the first week of the season. But until then, they're pretty tight-lipped about what McBride's dealing with. But it's kept him from being a full participant in practice, and it kept him, out of the preseason opener. Also out of the preseason opener, but was out there warming up, was Marquise Hollywood Brown. He's your wide receiver 1. And, primarily in his absence has been Michael Wilson, who I think, on this depth chart, and you'll see on the Arizona Cardinals official depth chart, is Michael Wilson is back up to Hollywood, or he's back up to Pascal, but I think he's back up to both outside receiver positions.
I disagree. Well, I agree with why we put him here, because I think it's going to mirror what the team does, maybe even until week 1. I think they'll probably have Michael Wilson as a non-starter, but he's going to start. And he's going to have more snaps and more targets and more touches than Zach Pascal. Because what the hell are you doing if you're not doing that? Sure. I think this is a respect play, because I know people in the chat are like, why isn't Michael Wilson starting? This is a respect play because Gannon and company courted Zach Pascal to come here and be a glue guy. You give him his 2 cents, right? You follow through with the plan that you pitched to him. I think if anything, Marquise Brown to me is the most vulnerable of this receiving core outside of Rondale Moore, not for playing time, but Michael Wilson, if he has the kind of season we're all hoping and projecting, and this team is able to add a Marvin Harrison Jr. next spring, like how does that fit with Marquise Hollywood Brown? What does Marquise Hollywood Brown need to do to get a contract extension? 1,200, 1,300 yards. So Michael Wilson is a threat to every single individual outside at receiver, because I believe he is going to be a rhythm player. He is going to dominate underneath, something that they're going to need to rely on with Colt McCoy. I don't know how valuable Hollywood Brown is until Kyler Murray comes back. And that's not an indictment on Hollywood, but Colt McCoy cannot stretch the field. He cannot make throws, in my opinion, that accent and highlight Marquise Brown. So I think we're going to see some scenarios, Bo, where this is interchangeable, and it's Michael Wilson and Zach Pascal as well, and Hollywood Brown's on the sideline.
As Michael Wilson was having an absolute day yesterday in camp or in practice, Marquise Brown was just as impressive. And I think you'll see once he gets out there, they really are emphasizing in a guy that's known for his speed, but you're seeing it on full display in this offense. You really are. I think that I disagree with that. I think that Drew Petzing's offense, like he's going to be able to find.
I hope so.
Like Jacoby Brissett does not have a great arm. He was able to tap into what Amari Cooper does well. And I think that it works the same with Hollywood Brown. Rondale Moore at the slot. I mean, that's just a matter of if he can stay healthy. I think he'll get the benefit of the doubt over Dortch. But just like Michael Wilson, I think Dortch is going to find his way onto the playing field. And then you look at and Pascal's probably. I think he's the only guy that's playing special teams,
right?
And he's not even in a return role. So that tells you all you need to know about that, as far as what his role on it. He's just kind of everywhere. He's your do everything guy, and so is Dortch. Hey, just ask him what you need to do, and he's going to do it for you. He's going to do it at a high level. And then these other guys are just receivers and catch the ball, make plays. Running back.
Hang on.
Right.
Mr. Spacely echoes my sentiments here. And while I think this is going to be week one, you said it's only a matter of time. We got to see with Rondale Moore. I think it's only a matter of time before Greg Dortch overtakes Rondale Moore. Mr. Spacely in the chat, I like Dortch more than more. Unpopular opinion. That's a popular opinion with me, Mr. Spacely, on this show. Greg Dortch is a better football player than Rondale Moore. Rondale Moore might be more talented. Greg Dortch will be the team's starting slot receiver by midseason. I'll make a prediction right now. No disrespect to Rondale Moore. With what I've seen over the last 18 months, Greg Dortch deserves it. He's just going to bide his time. He's going to make plays when he gets a chance to come into games, make plays on special teams. But Rondale Moore needs to show this fan base a lot this year.
Yeah, I think he's done what he's needed to do, though, to kind of hold things the status quo throughout training camp and in preseason. Nearly made a huge play. Could have been bigger. It was hilarious how he smashed the football against his helmet post-play because he knew he could have gotten more in the preseason opener against the Broncos. But I think, Rondale Moore's doing what he can to hold off Dortch. But any slip-up, I agree. I mean, it's
literally slipped on the field last week.
It's going to be light the torch, no doubt about it. Running back, it's the James Conner show. I mean, the last, like the next three names, I mean,
we're just guessing.
We're not guessing. I mean, it's an educated guess, but it's going to be fluid behind James Conner. It really is until somebody emerges.
Tyson Williams, I will give him his flowers. I talked to Bo about this off air. I rewatched the game last night. He was really good in the second half, like making people miss at the line of scrimmage to get something out of nothing. Whereas Corey Clement, to me, if he's not in there pass protecting or if he's not playing special teams, like, he should not be touching the football. Respectfully for Corey Clement, what I saw was not good enough against the Broncos. I know they have a stout, defensive front. Keontae Ingram, to me, a huge game against Kansas City on Saturday night. He has to seize this opportunity. If he doesn't play well against Kansas City, Brack, you might as well ship him out of town. Like, what are you doing? You're missing the first two preseason games. You've got a golden opportunity. I'm surprised the Cardinals didn't work out a back of note this week, sign somebody. This is the biggest crapshoot on the roster outside of defensive line, in my opinion.
And this could be a situation when these four guys make the roster and it's submitted, by the deadline, and it's still not cemented, for the season opener. Like, there's going to be, I mean, most NFL teams have anywhere from 5 to 7 backs in camp right now, and they're going to all whittle down to about 4. And there's going to be, close to 50 running backs that are going to be released by an organization. So I think that there's going to be a running back. There's like very little doubt in my mind that there's going to be a running back on this roster to start things out that is not here right now.
And
I was
unfortunately,
watching Hard Knocks
that's going to be because
night.
of Tyson Williams. That'll be Tyson Williams' spot. Would you feel comfortable saying that?
Yeah, I do, because in order to get whoever it is up to speed, Clement has done everything he's been asked to. He came back, following an injury in the preseason opener, and Ingram, I think, is somebody they really want to see what he's about. Haven't had the opportunity to see that. I think Tyson, despite what you saw against the Broncos, it's a numbers game, and it's a tough position to crack. But I'm watching the Hard Knocks last night with the Jets, and they just signed Dalvin Cook. They already have Breece Hall returning from an ACL injury. They've got Michael Carter. I think they drafted the kid out of Pitt that the Cardinals had worked out. Like,
watch out with Michael Carter. That's a name to watch.
Yeah, very interesting name to watch. So Kyler Wren saying Dermicado over Clement at this point. I haven't seen that trust put into Dermicado that they have in Clement, just having experience. And it's going to come down to, obviously the importance of pass pro and other things that go into playing that position.
I agree with Chase. Clement is boring, no spark. I've been using the term juice. He has no juice. There's no lateral movement, explosiveness to his game. Where he's going to have a benefit, though, is I think he was briefly with Gannon in Philadelphia. Like, they like him, right? Probably going to be a fixture on special teams. But again, like, this franchise, and I love everything they've done this offseason, save for 2 moves. I don't like how they've handled Colt McCoy, and I think that it was a mistake either not to sign a back on the cheap of note or to draft a back. Tank Bigsby, anybody? Somebody like that they worked out, because James Conner, I know they're going to milk him for everything he's got this year. He's making 8 figures, and they're going to say, okay, go out there and earn it. If it was up to James, he'd play every snap all 17 weeks. That's not realistic. It's a 60-40 combo, just like he had with Chase Edmonds 2 years ago, is the best usage for him. And now he's 2 years older. You're rolling the dice, because contrary to popular belief, like, you can't be ass at running back and expect to win. It will derail you, especially for a team that wants to run the football as much as Petsy and company.
Yeah. Now the quarterback position, and you see this is what we're predicting as the initial 53. Who we have on this in that quarterback position? Colt McCoy, Clayton Tune.
You really have to squint. You not just recite this from the top. It's around talking point for 6 weeks.
And Kyler Murray.
That means Kyler Murray, we're predicting, comes back before the start of the regular season to at least practice. He's off PUP, but we're of the mindset this show tentatively is Colt McCoy is going to be the starter week 1. Clayton Tune will probably be active. Kyler Murray will probably not be active. Maybe you can bring up, if you can get David Blau on your practice squad, if he's not vested, and you could bring him up, some kind of hodgepodge of that. But we think Kyler Murray will be a part of this 53-man roster week 1, Bo Brock.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's complete speculation, right? And I think that the organization's telling the truth when they really don't know a true timeline. But they've got, as we outlined, just a few days to kind of figure things out. And just looking at other players in their timeline as far as how they've returned, Kyler Murray, I think they want to keep the door open in case he gets back and he can push to play before week 4, or I should say week 5, because it would be 4 weeks on the shelf at the minimum on PUP.
Yeah, I emphasize minimum there. That's it. That's the offensive depth chart. Let's go back to a couple of handsome boys here on a football Friday. Lot to take in. I think, to summarize, what's going to happen with the center position. Can Frold hold it down? Josh Jones, can he make the team? I think it'd be a mistake not to. And then looking at the skill players, Bo, it's like, does Andre Bocelli knock off somebody else for that 5th or 6th wide receiver spot?
Yeah.
What happens with Michael Wilson? I think it's something in text. It doesn't mean anything. And then the Kyler Murray factor with James Conner and the running backs. There's some intrigue, but I think I'd argue, and you'd argue the same, there's much more intrigue defensively.
Yeah, let's take a look at that defensive side of the football. Nick Rollis's crew. Let's start with the outside linebackers. Zaven Collins. Dennis Gardeck gets the sack in the preseason opener, and he continues to be in favor of the coaching staff. He'll hold down that spot until they give him a reason not to, until he gives them a reason not to. And then the defensive front, Ledbetter's played very well. So did L.J. Collier. Big just pass bat down in his first action as a Cardinal. And then Lucky Fotu's kind of emerged as one of the holdovers from the previous regime. He's kind of at that nose tackle spot.
Yeah, I mean, this defensive line's grown on me. Collier, I think, is firmly entrenched as a starter. Ledbetter flash last year. Let's see if he can build on that. Fotu, to me, is vulnerable just because I've seen him get trucked so many Sundays and has looked the opposite of what a nose tackle should be. But that was under Vance Joseph. So, again, I'm giving the immense benefit of the doubt to Jonathan Gannon. I think that, and Nick Rollis, to some extent, that should be a big asterisk on this entire defensive depth chart. What JG wants, JG's going to get. And if he wants Lucky Fotu, then I have belief in that. They see him every day in practice. So this defensive line, I'll continue to argue, it doesn't have a ton of talent. But if it can overachieve and 1 to 2 guys can emerge and just be solid, can LJ Collier and Jonathan Ledbetter be solid starters, get 3 or 4 sacks apiece, then you're cooking with gas. And then you can say, okay, we're not as bad as we thought. Actually, we're pretty solid. Jonathan Gannon and Nick Rollis coached this unit up. What we saw last year was an investment in J.J. Watt in conjunction with Zach Allen. I'm not putting that on those guys. The Cardinals got run over every Sunday. And that's with 2 inside linebackers that went in the top 16. Just the scheme was so out of whack that I'm willing to give the benefit of the doubt to this new regime. Do what you need to do. You've got the groceries now. Cook them up how you want. So I think they've checked the box. Can they check another one tomorrow against KC?
Yeah, and it's going to be, there's probably, you might want to carry a 6th defensive lineman just because of the rotation they like to run. And, I see people say, and they still believe in a Rashard Lawrence, and that's fine. He's going to have to prove it over the next 2 games. And then you look at the pass rush, which is a deep group. It really is. Obviously you're monitoring the, BJ Ujulari's status. Is he going to be ready to go? Cameron Thomas, who didn't practice this week, his status, and Majay Sanders, who has a wrap on his hand, which was once a cast. Those are things to monitor. So 3 of those guys, and then somebody saying in the chat as far as no violence, referring to, and that's Dana Robinson, as far as Jesse Luketa, who's played really well as far as camp and preseason, but it's a numbers game. And if Zaven Collins, BJ Ujulari, Cameron Thomas, Majay Sanders, and Dennis Gardeck are all healthy, there's just not enough snaps to go around to keep to really keep either a Luketa or a Victor Dumakaji. There's just not enough reps for him to get, and there's needs in space you have to make on the roster elsewhere.
Yeah, I agree with that. Luketa and Victor Dumakaji are guys you'd like to have on the team as depth guys, as special teamers, but there's not a special pass rush quality, which is what you're asking for. Like, I think you could make an argument on certain Sundays, like they're like a better, maybe all around like defender than some of these guys. They know where to go, but like Ojulari was a top 50 prospect for a reason, almost top 40, because he's explosive. Zaven Collins was a 1st-round pick, explosive, physical, violent, as we saw last Friday. Majay Sanders was fantastic in limited time last year. Cameron Thomas got a sack last week. I mean, the one that I put the asterisk on, but he proved me wrong Friday. Will he continue to do so? Is Dennis Gardeck. I mean, this is a group of 5 that's going to be interchangeable. I think Zaven's got immense versatility to be able to put his hand in the ground. He's the biggest of the group. Cameron Thomas has shown he can play up front as well. I just think, Victor Dumakaji and Jesse Luketa, if and when they get cut, they're going to be on NFL teams this year. But the Cardinals have enough average on their defensive line, and maybe a little below average. They got to roll the dice on some special. You got to say BJ Ojulari may not know the playbook as well as these guys, but he's got special abilities we need to tap into if we're going to go to the next level. And that's what the coaching staff with Vance Joseph and company failed to do time and time again. let's play it safe with the Ben Niemans of the world and these guys who they have very low ceilings, but they're not going to embarrass us. Where's the production? Where's the sacks? Where's the explosiveness? The Cardinals are getting back to, we want the best players on the field, bar none, and this is going to showcase that. Ojulari's got the furthest to go, in my opinion. He's missed so much time, but they're not going to blackball him, for the lack of a better term. He's going to play this year. Just give it some time.
Yeah. Let's move to the secondary, and we'll get to some of these names you guys are throwing out there. What about Dante Stills? We'll kind of revisit Rashard Lawrence. As we said, we've got 52 guys on this roster, so there's one spot for one guy, and it's a long list of people vying for it. And, of course, Garrett Williams and Kyler Murray. Kyler's on the PUP, and Garrett Williams is on the non-football injury list as he's still rehabbing his ACL tear from last October against Notre Dame. But as we get to the defensive secondary, Johnny, we've added Jalen Thompson to the slot. He's obviously going to be a starting safety for this team. I think if you're looking at your base, you'll have Jalen Thompson in there. You'll have Budda Baker in there. You have Marco Wilson. And as we had that conversation earlier this week, I encourage you to check out, the CB2 competition YouTube video. Antonio Hamilton, I think, just with the experience right out of the gates, probably gets the start, but you're going to see guys like Keitrell Clark and Christian Matthew enter a rotation to find their way on the field in the regular season.
Yeah, this cornerback group is really growing on me. Hamilton looked good last Friday. He's not going to embarrass you. Keitrell Clark, we asked Greg Dortch yesterday, who's the player that everybody needs to pay attention to. He mentioned the 6th rounder out of Louisville. I mean, he's a dog. He's somebody that this team is going to build around in the secondary, and that's got to get you excited. What we've seen from Garrett Williams is this kid's poised for significant playing time when he does come back, and I would be surprised if that's not sooner rather than later. And Christian Matthew, listen, he's got some size. I think if you're looking at this group right now, if there's one player that's vulnerable, a cornerback, it's Christian Matthew, but you need 5 corners in today's NFL. You need depth, and outside of Marco Wilson, the rest of these guys are going to play special teams. So I think if there's an area we're shortchanging, it's safety. They probably could use one more safety to be a backup to Budda and Isaiah Simmons, but I mean, Jalen is so skilled. He can maneuver around. Just Gannon and his defensive backs are interchangeable. We go back to the template that Philadelphia set, trying to mirror that here. So, I mean, all of these names I think will be on the roster, save for maybe Christian Matthew, but this is the strength of the defense. You want to laugh at that if you're an external, you don't follow this team. I think Marco Wilson is primed for a big year. Everybody knows how I feel about Isaiah Simmons, certainly a tremendous athlete, and Budda's Budda. So, it's the unit that I think they'll lean on the most.
Yeah, and then the kind of the inside linebacker spot, not been talked about a lot, because I think that it's just all steady. There wasn't a lot of flowers for Kazir White and TJ Edwards until free agency when they got paid. About the linebackers in that Philly defense, it's kind of the lunch pail unsung heroes of that defense, and they should be steady. I think any kind of combination of Kazir White, Chris Barnes, Owen Papo, and Josh Woods is going to be fine at that inside linebacker spot. No longer are the days, as you mentioned, like the Ben Niemann, the Tanner Vallejos, not being able to be athletic enough or fast enough to keep up with NFL offensive skill players.
And these are all external signings, which makes us believe they're all going to make the team. Kazir White with Gannon in Philadelphia signed. Chris Barnes was a signing this offseason, as was Josh Woods. Josh Woods, an elite special teamer. And Owen Papo had a green dot on his helmet in the second half of Denver last week, and I think is projected to be a starter in 2024. They're not going to let any of these guys walk. So I feel like this group is solidified. Now, I texted Bo Brack a name that's not on this list that's been a darling of not only the inside linebacking core, but the special teamer group as well. And we're going to talk about that name as well as a couple others. I know people are saying, where's Rashard Lawrence? Where's Stills? We got one spot left based on the names that we've dove into. And Bo, producer Emma, if you wouldn't mind taking us off back on screen, like there's one spot for about 6-7 guys. Do we want to unveil that list, or do we want to talk about specialists real quick?
Let's roll through the specialists real quick. I mean,
okay.
We're not going to spend too much time. Yeah, like the Dortch at the kick returner, punt returner spot. It's been far too long that we've seen a tutty from that position. I think that ends this year because our guy Greg Dortch finds pay dirt. Kicker Matt Prater, Aaron Brewer's back, and then I think, this is my guess, I think Nolan Cooney is your option at punter.
Okay, no issue with any of that. And again, punter could be interchangeable. Dortch is going to be fantastic, as he always is, returning the football. All right, let's talk about it. So on the bubble, this is who we decided on. And again, throw out a name if we're missing it, but Zeke Turner, inside linebacker, Darnell Vance-Joseph did not make our final 53 projection. Rashad Lawrence, draft pick of Steve Keim, 4th rounder. Andre Baccellia, who's had a good camp, right? Could be the outside 7th receiver looking in. Dante Stills, defensive tackle this year, late in the draft. The aforementioned Victor Dumakaji and Jesse Luketa. And then 2 guys offensively, Pat Elflein and David Blau. I mean, those are guys that have all played significant time this preseason and during training camp. But I mean, there's only one spot left of those names I just read to you. Who you plugging and playing in that final 53?
I mean, and you can make the case. Maybe Kyler doesn't start the year as far as on the roster as the 53. Could he remain on PUP? That opens up a spot. What's the deal with Garrett Williams? He's still NFI, so is he going to be on the roster? The window is closing on that, but they'll make a decision. But as we see it, one spot right now, I think you probably go with a Dante Stills. I think you err on the side of the guy you drafted with projectables, things like guy who has the upside that you've seen in training camp and in preseason. I think Stills is, because we know what we, as much as you can, about Andre Baccellia. He's a guy that was on and off the practice squad all last year and the previous season to that. It's like, thank you for your service. You're a pro. You've helped out the young players, and it's tough. This is a tough game, and the Cardinals are trying to get the best core that they possibly can. And I look at Baccellia in there. I think Davian Davis, Caden Davis, who had a touchdown, and Brian Cobbs. I mean, they're all kind of on the same level, and I don't think that's enough. Especially with, I think, as we talked about yesterday, the receiving core is I think, sneaky good. It's going to surprise some people. And then, if there is no Kyler, I think there is serious consideration for Blau, how he performed down the stretch, in the regular season last year, and the third quarterback situation where teams are going to probably carry a third quarterback, where in years past, before the rule came out this offseason about that emergency quarterback, it made no sense. So I think that they would consider that if Kyler's not, in close to, and not, IR or pupped.
Yeah, I think Blau's on the 53-man roster if Kyler's not removed from PUP before August 29th, which is a Tuesday. I think he's earned it. You got to have 3 quarterbacks active, especially when Colt McCoy could go down with a sneeze, right? With respectfully for Colt McCoy, like, you have to. David Blau, to me, proved last year and during that preseason game, like, he can be competitive. He's got an NFL arm. I'm anxious to see him against Kansas City, and I think he should start the entire game along with Clayton Tune against Minnesota next weekend. Jeff Driscoll, goodbye. See you later. I mean, there's no point in emphasizing that. Rashad Lawrence, I think, is gone. And I think if you're flipping a coin between Rashad Lawrence and Dante Stills, emphasize the fact that Stills was a draft pick of Monty Ossenford. And Stills had a couple flash plays in the second half against Denver. Dumakaji, Jesse Luketa, I just don't think there's enough room. They are average to below average, in my opinion, outside linebackers in today's NFL. They got chances last year. They could not make the most of it. They could not sniff the quarterback. Pat Elflein, to me, is a wild card. Gaines didn't play particularly well in the second half, but again, that's a tough position to convert to. I'm with you. I wanted to kind of go off the beaten path, but I didn't think you would say Stills. Stills is easily my choice. The fact that even if he's a late round pick, he looked very capable for this team. I'll make a prediction right now. The entire rookie class is making this team. The Cardinals aren't good enough not to do that.
Yeah. Pork 270. We got to update that avatar, my man. Kyler and Sean Payton in Cardinals gear. But yeah, I think tomorrow will tell us a lot about this team. Absolutely. I completely agree. This is the main dress rehearsal. Week 3 is going to be, guys who are fighting for spots. That's going to be their time. But this is going to be the main dress rehearsal as far as who they feel is going to be their main players for this to open up at least this regular season. So Stills, you can throw them into that defensive line group. It goes to 6. And that's right where you probably want to be, especially when you're rotating guys in and out. And it's not, as we mentioned, what JG was dealing with last year, where it was just an embarrassment of riches from Fletcher Cox to Jordan Davis to Ndamukong Suh. It's not that. You're going to have fresh legs and clear lungs getting after the quarterback to make any kind of noise with this group.
Jalen in the chat, Jesse Luketa led the team in pressures last week. Also had a PFF grade, the highest of anybody that played 10 snaps on special teams. Y'all sleeping. That would mean keeping 10 linebackers if you include the inside backers as well. That's a lot. That's a lot.
Who's going to outplay as far as the top 5? Who do you slot him in?
I mean, you'd have to say Dennis Gardeck gets moved or cut,
right,
or they shed his salary. And like if they want to do that, I'm not going to bitch and complain.
They're pretty far away from each other on the depth chart.
So I would, and he's not sniffing the top 4 guys. So right. and if you keep Jesse Luketa, you got to keep 6 outside linebackers. I mean, that's a ton of outside linebackers. That's too many, in my opinion. So
no, I think as far as Monty, JG's, Nick Rallis's evaluation, they're going to be able to figure out who's going to be able to make plays. They'll be able to decipher preseason play into what's going to be making impacts on Sundays.
I agree with that. I also agree with my stomach, which is telling me that I need some illegal pizza in my life ASAP, sooner rather than later. This episode of PHNX Cardinals is brought to you by our friends at Illegal Pete's. Patio season is right around the corner. It's starting to cool off just a bit. Breezy today, a little bit of rain. That means patio beers for football season. Can't wait to go Monday Night Football, Thursday Night Football. I mean, that's kind of the low-key benefit of this team not playing on national TV. Like, I'm just going to go to Illegal Pete's and watch a ton of NFL football this year. Patio beers, margaritas, they're the strongest in Arizona. So, drink responsibly, but irresistible drinks and mouth-watering food, sign me up. Bowls, tacos, salads, burritos, nachos, whatever you want, including some custom cocktails, hot queso. Illegal Pete's is your go-to spot this summer, this fall. Stop by happy hour. It's not one of those janked happy hours, which is for like 7 minutes. No. 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. every single day, all 12 locations. Illegal Pete's is the go-to burrito buddies and beer spot for the last 28 years here in the Valley. Check them out.
How about a little palate cleanser of OGs after some Illegal Pete's? I mean, it's fantastic. And then we've got the best deal going on right now, partnering up with our friends over at OG's Brands on multi-flavor bags. They're going to get you 25% off right now through August 31st. You can get 25% off 100 milligram bags of the fruits and the creams at all Arizona, the Flower Shop locations. That's every Flower Shop location in AZ. You can get 25% off all 100 milligram bags of the fruits and the creams. All you have to do right now, you can place an online order at theflowershop.usa.com. That's theflowershop.usa.com. Place that order. Use the discount code, yeah, you guessed it, PHNX at checkout, and then head to your nearest Flower Shop location and pick it up. That's right. This deal is exclusive to our PHNX viewers and listeners. It's available for only online orders that are picked up in person. Use the discount code PHNX at theflowershopusa.com, and you'll get the 25% off all 100 milligram bags of the fruits and the creams from OG's Brands. Check out ogsbrands.com. Follow them on social. It's going on until August 31st. Hashtag flavor in life. Got to be 21 years or older.
I'm going to flavor your palate here with a little BetMGM action on the app. Right now, you can bet on all things preseason. Cardinals still remain a 7.5-point dog against Kansas City, plus 240. Last week, made a little bit of scratch. Not sure if you heard this at BetMGM. This week, I'm going to try to do the same. Plus 240, get you some money and then some with bonus bets at BetMGM. I posed this question to you off air, Brack. I will ask it again for the peeps. All 128 of you like this video, by the way. If the Cardinals come out, they don't even have to necessarily win. But let's say, similar to the first half against Denver, if they make Kansas City and subsequently Patrick Mahomes look average, look rattled, right? And they look competent, again, defensively and to some extent offensively, how soon will you be ready to anoint them ahead of schedule, or do you not put any stock in this at all?
No, I think you do need to put some stock into it. I mean, you're getting in the main dress rehearsal of the exhibition season the best team on the planet. I mean, the team that was the last one standing at the end of last year, and we saw firsthand how things can get out of hand with Patrick Mahomes. With we'll see what Kelsey's status is, but it looks like it's going to be the first team for the Chiefs on both sides of the football. And that's going to be a measuring stick, and it could be humbling. It often is against the Chiefs. No knock against the Arizona Cardinals, but if they can hold serve, if they can, force the offense off the field a couple times in the first half, that's a big dub. If they can force the 3 and out against Mahomes and crew, I don't care that he's trying to work in some new receivers after having some turnover at that position the last couple of years. I mean, I think that it's a way better, measuring stick than the Denver Broncos. I mean, rewatching the tape, the Broncos offensive line, it's going to struggle hanging with any defensive line in the league. And, tip of the cap to Rollis's group for just winning against whoever they were playing against, because they outright just punished the Broncos offensive line. But this is a much better test. And I'm really interested to see what the outcome is.
I want to get to some of these comments here. Porks 270. I'm sorry, but Gannon and Rallis look pretty badass, especially Rallis' hoodie game goes crazy. I agree with that. Run it back. CJM Entertainment. I want to see some pancakes, some progress on the run. I think a lot of that is predicated on can Keontae Ingram play, because I don't think we're going to see James Conner. And the offensive line was doing a nice job creating holes last week. Corey Clement and company just couldn't hit him hard enough, in my opinion. Jalen Blair, if our D-line can do to KC O-line what we did in Denver, and I've been hearing this a lot this week, I might start drinking the Kool-Aid. Pick up a glass. It's time to start drinking that Kool-Aid, because I do
pour me a glass if that happens.
I don't think we're going to get a Cardinal team that rolls over to the defending Super Bowl champions. You've got Budda Baker, number 3, suiting up tomorrow. He didn't play last week. I think you're going to have Kazir White playing. I think you're going to see, of course, Isaiah Simmons out there. You're going to see what I think closely resembles their starting defense, and they'll be fired up for this game, because a lot of players, Brack, we know, are not going to play against Minnesota next Saturday. So this is their chance before the regular season gets some live bullets thrown at them, say for Minnesota joint practices next week. So I don't know if they're going to win. I don't know if they're capable of hanging with Kansas City's depth, but I don't think Patrick Mahomes, unlike week 1 against VJ last year, is going to go up and down the field. I think the Cardinals are going to get a stop or two.
Yeah, and Hoodie Rollis would be up to his usual tricks. I mean, that would be an unbelievable start for him. And, somebody had said in the chat a couple of days ago, like, I predict Nick Rollis as an NFL head coach in 3 years. I mean, if he's already starting to put together in a loose game plan, if you start, concepts and calls that are going to get the defense with what their personnel is off the field against Kansas City with what their personnel is, I mean, that's just they're trending in the absolute right direction. I don't care what time of year it is. That's what you're looking for come tomorrow. I mean, if they can generate pressure and make Patrick Mahomes uncomfortable, that's a good sign. And if you can do it against Patrick Mahomes, you sure as shit can do it against Sam Howell in week 1.
Who's got the most to prove in your mind? I think, Keontae Ingram needs to play and play well. I'd love to see Trey McBride get a couple targets in the pass game. I don't think Colt McCoy can come out and look like trash. Like I think he needs to.
I don't think he will. He had a really solid week of practice. He looks fresh.
What's solid to you?
He was distributing the football. He was making throws on the line. He was efficient in the red zone. There weren't a lot there. I rarely didn't see any turnovers. There was one pass breakup from Budda Baker. But no, I think Colt McCoy had a really solid week of practice. I think he's getting the grasp of the language, the cadence that Drew Petzing wants him to play with. I'm not just being a Colt McCoy truther here to be anti-Tune, because I want to see a lot from Tune tomorrow as well. But I think that McCoy can run a pretty full version of this offense at this stage. Like, we're still not going to see Petzing get into all the calls, and he'll probably just scratch the surface as far as how deep of his playbook he's going to get into. But I think that McCoy has a lot to prove. I mean, he can make it as ho-hum as it was week 1, where he's just they're moving the chains and he's throwing completions and not making very many big plays. But I think that they can sneak in a big play tomorrow.
Would be nice. I like this. Porks. Colt's going to play his role, Chase. The checkdowns look good. I don't know if that's tongue-in-cheek or not. He did scramble for that first down with that Paris Johnson Jr. big block on Randy Gregory. Better defense, I think, in Kansas City than you saw with the Denver Broncos. I think Kansas City's got a Steve Spagnuolo. He knows what he's doing defensively. And wouldn't be surprised if they dial a few things up for old Colt McCoy. I'm going to be surprised if everybody, though, doesn't go and use the promo code PHNX at foco.com. They've always got our back here when plugging Arizona sports, straw hats, bags, polos, everything you need for the big game. Foco has also donated a few pieces for our set at the PHNX studios. I got this JJ Watt bobblehead, keeping the good vibes going. You can check all the good stuff they've got going on at foco.com. Again, use that promo code PHNX for all for all non-presale items. Use that promo code PHNX, 10% off. Foco.com.
Well, look at that Foco, that Kyler bobblehead. That's unbelievable. The whole, all the gear they have at foco.com. You don't want to miss out on any of that. Also, you don't want to miss out on any of the action going on at gophnx.com. Become a diehard today. Get yourself into the member Discord. Get yourself a hat for free every year like Johnny has on his head, or a shirt like that Hollywood Hills sign on Camelback Mountain. That t-shirt right there is fantastic. Get it at the PHNX locker. You can buy it, or you can get it for free becoming a diehard today. So much access you won't believe by becoming a diehard and just really joining the PHNX community. It pays for itself. You get discounts at so many of our partners around the valley. Sign up today. Go phnx.com and phnxlocker.com. Man, all right. So tomorrow, pregame show, we got our special guests lined up. Saul Bookman, the GM, is going to be in the house. But, I mean, going to be a fun game regardless. I mean, are we going to get the dramatics? Are we going to get a 2 seconds left on the clock touchdown to put them ahead? I don't know. That might be asking for too much back-to-back weeks. But, you know, I think when you see preseason opponents, like this one offers more than the usual opponent.
Yeah, the theatrics were great last Friday. Give me, as Ian says in the chat, a Michael Wilson touchdown, a Hollywood Brown touchdown, a Trey McBride touchdown, right? Let's see somebody who's going to be a fixture, with all due respect to David Blau, in this offense, do some damage against Kansas City.
Like the Dortch tomorrow.
Of course.
It wasn't his own fault. It was, he had 2 balls go his way and they're way over his head.
Those were tough to watch yesterday in the rewatch. Toon missed those badly. And I love Clayton Tune. I think he'll be much better tomorrow, by the way. I haven't had to bang the drum for Tune this week because I do think he proved a lot of people wrong in the second half. He completed some nice balls, and give the first half to Colt, give the second half to Clayton. No issue with that. Sure. How long do you think Colt plays tomorrow, by the way?
I think he'll play close to the entire first half.
You think so? You don't think it'll just be like a couple possessions, a quarter maybe?
I honestly, they really wouldn't give us any insight to how long he's going to play. I mean, it was as late as, Wednesday, where, either JG, Rollis, or Petzing, they were all saying, hey, we're still figuring that out. So I don't know why they want to keep it so tight to the vest, but, I think we'll see obviously more than one series with Colt, and I'm hoping to see at least an entire half, because I really don't see any, why not just get him a half this week and then just call it a preseason for McCoy?
CJM Entertainment, what do you all want to see from Paris Johnson before the season starts, for him to stay healthy and for him to continue to do what he's doing? And that's be what I think is one of the best first-round picks this franchise has had since Kyler Murray. Just going about his business, lunch pail mentality. The less you hear about Paris Johnson Jr., the better he's playing. He's not a liability. He's not knee-deep. DJ Humphries circa 2015. He's just quietly proven himself, and again, he's going to get his flowers at some point as well. But we talk about Michael Wilson because it's a flashy skill player that came out of nowhere. Like, Paris has been borderline just as dominant at times.
Yeah, more good tape. That's what you want to see from Paris Johnson Jr. And, maybe who was a pre-draft darling for the Cardinals, George Karlaftis. Don't make my boy Johnny see George Karlaftis make any plays, as we were both anti-Karlaftis, weren't we?
Yeah, big stinker. We weren't a fan of him. He had like 2 sacks in the first game, and then he didn't do anything the rest of the year. I'm respectfully, the Cardinals had a Purdue receiver come in, and it hasn't gone well. I didn't want a Purdue edge rusher from the Big Ten. Can we just stay with some, either an SEC or a Power 5 power? And they did that. They took a kid from Ohio State that dominated Georgia's defensive line. It's like, okay. He just didn't get that during draft season. Everybody's like, I don't know about Paris Johnson Jr. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Look at the tape. Look how great he was. This team needs everything. You know what? The best tackle in the draft? I don't know, John. Give me Tyree Wilson from Texas Tech, the dude who just got activated,
right?
who has not been playing, or the guy who's been starting since OTAs and hasn't missed a beat. It's just listen to me and Monty Ossenfort. We know what we're talking about.
They got the big pick from Hamilton last week. I want to see more of the ball getting taken away. And I know that's asking a lot against Mahomes, but I want to see more of Isaiah Simmons. If you talk about rewatching the tape, if you were watching, especially in the first half against the Broncos ones, and you know how much pressure, and then you say Russell Wilson was the most pressured quarterback in the NFL in preseason week 1 by the Cardinals defensive line. Like, Isaiah Simmons did not get the opportunity to do anything. Like, he's like 10 yards away from the play because they're all like, Russell Wilson was just not either getting the ball out or getting it close to where Isaiah Simmons is on the field. I want to see Isaiah Simmons get an opportunity to pick a ball off tomorrow. I do. And I see Keitrell Clark in there. I want to continue to see 13 get opportunities as well.
Could be this the game that the Cardinals take advantage of a receiving core with Kansas City that's, let's just call it kindly, in flux. I mean, name a starting receiver for them. Justin Ross or whatever his name is that was undrafted. I mean, they got some dysfunction there. They lost Hardman. They've lost a bunch of players. So we'll see. Can the Cards be the benefactor? You're going to be the benefactor right now of subscribing to PHNX Cardinals wherever you get your podcast. We've been dropping audio-only podcasts. Check them out if you haven't. Maybe we'll do one coming out on Monday morning. In the meantime, tomorrow, mañana, live from PHNX headquarters in downtown Phoenix will be myself, Saul Bookman, and a special guest as we kick it off with the pregame 30 minutes prior to kickoff, then a postgame show. Bo Brack joining us live from State Farm Stadium, just like last Friday, breaking down all the action. In the meantime, subscribe to PHNX Sports here on YouTube. Ring that bell notification so you're notified every single time your boys go live. In the meantime, have a great weekend. For Bo Brack, I'm Johnny Venerable. We'll see you at the game.